What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. Another week in the books. Getting ready for another big college basketball weekend, Bruce. Another UFC
Yes, sir.
fight night ahead of us as well. How are you doing this week, man?
I'm doing better. I'm sad.
Why? Why are you
I'm
so
sad.
sad?
We went 2-1 on UFC
Yeah.
last week, but the one that I talk the most shit.
It was tough. It was tough seeing it. You hate to see it.
Volk, man, Volk.
Yeah.
He really hurt himself with that short notice Islam fight. I think it derailed a lot of what he was supposed to do. And just to give you quick story time.
Yeah.
George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva, let's say 10 years ago, were top of their game, super champs. And everybody's like, why won't they fight each other?
Right.
In like a super fight. And George St. Pierre revealed later that the reason why was because Anderson Silva didn't want to go down in weight. He didn't want to go up in weight. And the reason why he didn't want to go up in weight was because he noticed when fighters go up, no problem. When they go back down to their weight class, their chin becomes weaker and they get knocked out more. And he said he saw this across MMA and boxing. So like that's the only thing that I can hear in my head is like George St. Pierre with fucking super French, just whispering in my ear that it's the weight cut back down.
Interesting, because that's exactly what he did. Yeah.
And he looked good in the first round and a half.
Oh, dude, I think he was going to be up 2-0 if he didn't get knocked out.
Yeah, but there was something in the air.
He was catching him
being hunted.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, but he was catching Topuria in that second round too with the jab.
Yeah,
he was hitting him.
Yeah,
and I thought that to me that round looked like it looked like it was headed towards a clear 2-0, and then he just got clipped. I mean,
dude, I mean Topuria just has a different type of power, I guess. And I said, you bet on Volk until you can't bet on him anymore. And
there you go. This might be it. Yeah, I mean, back-to-back knockouts is rough, especially at his age, right? So,
anyways, but we do have some good stuff coming up this week, so I'm excited to get into that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get to that stuff during the show as well. And then college basketball this week. We only have a couple of college basketball Saturdays left before we're staring at the NCAA tournament. So that's going to be fun. Selection Sundays it feels like it just flew by, but it's coming up pretty soon. And we're going to find out if a lot of these teams are either, the bubble teams are either going to be in or they're going to be out. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And we'll have on maybe on a future show, we'll definitely do some tournament futures, long shots and stuff like that. I'll probably have a pick for who I think is going to win the whole thing, like we had the UConn pick last year. So we'll see what we can do with that. But this weekend, there's definitely a bunch of games that are kind of like, I mean, at this point, there's no like win and you're in, but there's kind of like these spots where a team, if they get a win this weekend, they could really solidify their hopes, like really like have a really solid resume to get in the tournament. And then there's some teams that if they lose, they're pretty much done. And one of the games I wanted to start off and highlight is this ACC matchup between Duke and Wake Forest, which is basically what you have here. I mean, Duke is in, right? Duke's going to be in no matter what. And Duke is red hot. Duke is 16-2 in their last 18 games. So they're just killing teams, and they're fresh off of that game where they went to Miami and they beat up on the Hurricanes. I mean, it was never a game. Like from the first minute, it was over. So, but now they've got to go on the road to Wake Forest. The thing that jumps out at me with this game was the look-ahead line and the spread that I saw per Ken Palm and also per Action Network too. That This is just a 1-point spread. This is Duke -1 on the road, which is crazy to look at when you first take a glance, but when you dive in, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. These two teams played just a few weeks ago. Wake Forest went to Duke on the road, only lost by 8 points, even though they shot like 20, I think it was 23% from three. They had a really bad shooting night, but hung in that game for most of it, covered the spread for most of that game. Now they come back home where they're undefeated. Wake Forest is one of the few teams left that has not lost a home game. Really tough place to play. They're just one of these Jekyll and Hyde teams that is kind of like okay on the road, but just really, really good at home. The defense steps up, goes up a notch at home. And this happens to just be like a great spot for them because they are one of these bubble teams. I think they're 14-11. I want to say something like that, their record. they're one of these bubble teams, and a win over Duke is massive for your resume. So if they can get this game, this is a much bigger game for Wake Forest than it is for Duke. And the Blue Devils, like I mentioned earlier, 16-2 in their last 18 games, but this is their third straight road game. First time of the year that they'll be on their third, 3 road games in a row. That's historically not a good spot. Last 5 years, ACC teams playing their third straight road game, just 42% against the spread. The record is 27-37, so you got a decent sample size there. So this sets up to kind of be a little bit of your classic letdown spot against a desperate home team that's coming off of a loss. They got to go back home. They really need this game. The spread is suspicious. Everyone's going to jump on Duke because they're just basically a pick 'em. Everyone's going to jump on them. You can lay the money line, and then it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is a game that Wake Forest pulls out.
But
for
let
me,
me ask you a question.
Yeah,
before you give the pick.
Gotcha.
When we talked late NFL season, now,
right,
because some people will like lay into this late NFL season. One of the things that we said is like, hey, these teams in these must-win situations is mostly a narrative.
Yes,
it's mostly a narrative. When you say, oh, the Colts have to win and they're going to get up and they're going to go into this game like their life is on the line and they're going to get this win for them and me this weekend.
Yeah.
But like we said, it's like a lot of the times you have to fade that narrative because usually the better team just wins, right?
Yeah.
So how does that relate to what we're going into right now? And are you going to say Wake Forest?
I am going to say Wake. Yeah.
Okay.
I like Wake Forest in the game.
Okay.
And yeah, the win to get in thing is for 100% overblown in the NFL. But situational spots always reign supreme for me, at least. So for me having drop something. For me having situational spots always reign supreme. So for me, like I said earlier, Duke playing their third straight road game, having shot they're shooting at an unbelievable clip. It's unsustainable, right? And now you're going on the road in a place where a team Wake Forest is undefeated at home. So there's a lot more than just the right must win. Like when we talk about must win is priced in, it absolutely is when that's the only thing you're looking at, right? You could find 100 angles for the other side, but then you're like, well, but they got to win. Yeah, but that doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter. But this one has a little bit of the must win. Wake Forest is a bubble team. They could win this game and still not get into the tournament, but this would certainly help them. But I like the matchup for them. I like their shooting at home, their defense at home. I like Duke's really, really hot streak of offense right now going in, like I said, Thursday road game. It feels like it sets up for like the letdown recipe. And it's a conference game. These home dogs in conference games are typically live, as long as they're not like the bottom of the barrel of the conference. They're typically live dogs. So, and I think Wake Forest is going to want revenge too. There's a little bit of a revenge angle for losing that game at Duke. So, I like the Deacons in this game, despite the fact that they quote unquote must win the game. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Cool. Now.
Yeah.
Are there any other? By the way, are you going? Are you just taking the money line on this one? Or are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where the line moves, but if it's +1, I mean, I always just take the point. It's basketball, so you could actually see a 1 point. Like in the NFL, I just take the money line, but it's basketball, so if it's 1.5 or 2, I'll just take the points. If it's a pick, then you just go money line. So, but I like Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest is going to win the game. I like them in the game.
All right, let's go Wake Forest. Are there any other games on the slate that sort of match this system criteria, spot?
Yeah. There's a few. There's actually a bunch of these kind of like quote unquote shady lines. Like one of the games you had, you have Houston going to play. Who's Houston playing? They're like -2 on the road. I can't remember. Alabama going to Kentucky. Alabama just won. That's another one that I would watch out for, specifically Bama, Kentucky. I mean, Wake Forest is probably my favorite of these kind of like tricky spots this weekend. But Bama just won an overtime game over Florida where they trailed most of the game. So they needed to come back, send it to overtime, and then win in overtime. And Kentucky just went on the road at LSU as 7-point favorites, and they lost outright. So that was like a brutal loss for them. Against a shitty team. LSU sucks. So now, but they they probably got caught
You
They
hear that, LSU fans?
you guys suck. No offense, but they probably got caught looking ahead a little bit because welcoming in, hosting an Alabama with these are two. We're talking about two top 10 teams in the country. So that Alabama versus Kentucky is a huge SEC game. So Kentucky maybe got caught like looking past LSU a little bit, and that's what happens when you underestimate a team. That's what happens. They beat you. So I think the line is -2 in that game for Bama. Again, a little bit of a very short line. Everybody could jump on Bama money line, but Kentucky's been pretty good and they can score. That's the one thing. Neither of those teams are great defensively, but Kentucky's one of the few teams because Alabama is the #1 offensive team in the country. Kentucky's one of those few teams though that can score with them. I think they're top 5 at offensive efficiency, so they can go basket for basket, which a lot of teams cannot do. So with Alabama, so watch out for that one too. I would lean to Kentucky early in that game, but we'll see where the line ends up settling. So
Awesome. And at the end of the day, we were joking about this before we got on the podcast. It's like, you sometimes you don't realize that you're putting a bet on a teenager.
Dude, these kids,
to
man,
win a
kill me
game.
at the free throw line. Like
You
you had
know?
Indiana the other night, and the center, Indiana center,
Yeah.
he's a good player, but he's getting fouled like every other possession. He's getting fouled, and he missed like 9 free throws, man. It's like the game's over. He's like 6 for 17. I'm like, you're killing me. Like, you could have won the game.
You're freaking out, and he's like, "I'm 19. Why are you betting on
I'm like,
me?"
if you want to make it to the NBA, young man, you need to get back in the gym, practice those damn free throws. That's in my head what I'm saying. I'm sitting on the couch all pissed off.
looking
Uh,
like Clyde in the booth.
So
All
yeah,
right.
that's my so I would say Wake Forest is probably like my favorite spot of the weekend in college hoops. But
Good.
as always, we'll have a big card. We usually have 5, 6, sometimes 7 plays in college basketball because it's a freaking 100 games on a Saturday. So we'll
Yeah.
try to be
Yo,
selective. But
I'm tired of college basketball. Like, get to the tournament already.
yeah, the
Like,
tournament is the best part.
why are we
It's the
watching
best.
these games? Why let's just match these people up preseason and just
Yeah,
play the
yeah,
tournament.
yeah. The conference play is always tricky to bet on. Like we've usually had good stretches this time of year, but this year feels a little bit different. Like a lot of the situational angles that we usually play on haven't been really working this year. So there's some nights where I'll just like default to just line value. If I feel like the line has some value, we'll take it, and I'll just like I won't look at the spot as much. Maybe I'll look at a system or two, but like and this is a part of sports betting, by the way. The way the market goes, like you have to constantly adjust. One thing will never work forever. Like there's probably systems 30 years ago that don't work now. There's systems that are great now that won't work in three to 5 years. Like it's just how it goes. So those
Yeah.
situational angles of like short road dogs or like things like they haven't really been hitting this year in college hoops. They were great in
Yeah.
the NFL, but in college basketball they haven't really been on the same level this year. So we'll see if that changes. And sometimes that happens for a whole season and then it just goes nuts during the tourney. It just all the spots start hitting that I usually look for.
Full regression back to
Exactly.
back to
It
the
just
spots.
goes nuts. And then you're like, oh, all right, we ended up with a great season. Like I cried for most of it, but here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah,
right.
that's what I'm looking at this weekend in college hoops. I also wanted to talk about, I know your favorite league, the NBA. We got to give the people some NBA content. How about that All-Star game? Did you catch any of the All-Star game?
No, I haven't watched an All-Star game
Dude,
since Kobe played in them.
The East put up I don't know if you saw the final score. The East put up 211 points, I think.
Yeah, it's
They
a clown
the
show,
over
dude.
the over was like in the mid 300s. They scored almost 400 points. The total.
It's like, I was watching something where they would say, how the All-Star game has evolved into more of like a spectacle than
Yeah.
like what it was intended to. I loved watching the All-Star game when it was like you see the best 10 guys
Yes.
out there
Yeah.
going at it. Like if
Yeah.
you boil the league down to just the
Yep.
top 12 guys on each side
It was
and
great.
you let them go at it, like what happens? This is
Yeah.
the clash of the titans. And now it's like, oh, through the legs, don't go. It's like, dude.
Now it's just like, oh, who can shoot from who can make a 3 from half court, basically. Like
Yeah.
who can make more logo threes. Like they were comparing this year's All-Star game, which was honestly embarrassing. They need to do something about it. Comparing it to like the last one that, like you said, the one that Kobe played in. and they had clips of Kobe like playing full court defense on LeBron. And then even the one after Kobe passed, the one where they did the little thing where they dedicated him is like you start the fourth quarter and the first team to reach 24, right? And they were
Yeah.
so into it. They were the guys were so into it. They need to do something like that. I saw a great idea. I wish I could. Maybe I'll find the Twitter and we could shout it out. I forget
Yeah.
who it was. There was a great Twitter thread where someone had the idea of a 1v1 tournament where it's like it's not a game, it's just a 1v1 bracket. And
nobody wants to lose 1v1.
right? And
Nobody.
it's like first it goes like first to 5, or then it goes like first to 7, and the finals like first to 11, play to 11. How intense would that be? That would be so intense.
But no one would want to do it because no one wants to get cooked.
Nobody
wants to get shimmied out of their shoes when they're the only people on the court on All-Star weekend. Like, you can't go to the club after that.
Yeah, that's true. No, but the last thing anyone wants is to, you're congratulations, you're an All-Star, get invited, and you get dropped in the one-on-one tournament. You get your ankles taken from you.
Jalen Brunson takes your ankles. They're like, why is he even here?
You're like,
why is he even here?
I'm never
Why is
coming
Jalen
back
Brunson
to this
even
shit.
here?
I'm playing poorly next year on purpose, so I don't make this damn fucking shit.
Right, exactly, man. Like, I wouldn't. These people have huge egos. You have to as an athlete. So yeah, I think it's garbage.
But that would be dope, though.
Yeah,
one-on-one would be so cool. Oh man,
dude. When we're playing pickup, I'm all D. I'm doing the Shane Battier thing where I'm like I'm in the face. This is POV. You're playing me in a 21 pickup game.
Yeah. You're Bruce
that's
Bowen.
What you get when
you're Bruce Bowen. You're all D and you're corner 3. Yeah,
Shane Battier. That's how
okay, you like Battier. All right, fine.
I'm a Battier guy.
But you know what's name about Bruce Bowen was the corner 3 specialist.
Yeah.
Battier could shoot from kind of everywhere, but Bruce Bowen was always hanging out in that corner.
Bruce Bowen made an entire career off corner 3s.
Just corner 3s and defense. That's it.
And D. Dude.
Oh, shoot. But yeah, the NBA.
Okay. NBA futures. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about NBA futures because around this time of year is when I kind of start evaluating the NBA futures market and trying to see where we can pick our spots. And coming out of the All-Star break is like when you'll find because obviously it's like first half, second half of season, right? So like you look at teams who really performed well or even really performed bad in the first half, and you're like, is there any reason for me to think that one of those is going to swing, right? Like are these really good teams going to start to suffer some setbacks, and are these like really horrible teams going to maybe start to find something in the middle of the year, right? That are trying to build on something. So like, and then that creates betting value on them. And for me, I started looking, and the biggest thing that stood out to me immediately was that the LA Clippers are favored to win the West, which I wasn't aware of, right? They're the number 1 seed in the West right now. And I knew that they were having
I don't know why that was funny.
Yeah, like I knew that they were having
which I was not
aware of this. Like to me in my head it was like the Nuggets and then maybe like the Suns after, or the Timberwolves or whatever. But the Clippers are the favorite right now. And I knew that they were performing well. But in my head I look at that team. Like now I'm just going to talk from my head right now. Look at that team and say like, no way. That's not going to work. Like with those 4 guys, right?
Yeah.
With George, Leonard, Westbrook, and Harden. I'm like, that doesn't work, right? On paper. But it's working right now. So that's why it piqued my interest. I'm like, I got to dig into this team. So I think they're going to have a rough second half of the season. All right. That's my prediction. Now I'm going on a limb. I might look stupid, but I think shit's going to hit the fan with the Clippers. So right now they're plus 250. They're the favorite to win the West. The Nuggets are the reigning champs. They're plus 260, right? So they're like right there with the Nuggets. I disagree with that. None of the guys on that team, besides Kawhi, have really championship experience. They do have a championship head coach. I get it with Ty Lue. But when I dug into their team metrics, right? It was like LeBron, really. But when I dug into their team metrics, I found this. Now I knew that they had some old guys, but they have the oldest average age in the NBA out of any team, which is not good because the season is long and it's going to get grueling, and it's all 7-game series. It's not baseball where you play 3-game, a 5-game. It's all 7-game series. So it's going to get really tough. They have the oldest age, but not just on average age. They have the oldest average age by minutes and by usage. So not only do you, sometimes you have these old vets on the bench, they have old guys, and the old guys are the ones playing all the minutes.
Right.
So they're in an unusually, to me, bad spot as for a team that's going to hit some pretty big regression, especially towards maybe the last fourth or third of the year, where I think the wear and tear is going to start to kick in, the fatigue, the load management. Kawhi's always on injury watch anyway. He's not even healthy right now. They're
Yeah,
playing tonight.
I
He's
was
not
about to,
even like,
I was about
I
to
mean,
say. So you're telling me that I should be worried about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George
Paul George,
getting
Wes
hurt?
Harden, James Harden.
Was yeah, you're telling me that
Yeah,
these guys are
I mean,
possible injury risks?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I will say they've played up to now good defense. Um, they've gotten like good contributions off the bench and stuff like that. To me, I cannot help but think that they should not be the favorites.
Yeah.
To me, I think if you're going to bet them, you got to be getting a much better number than plus 250. I think you have a lot better options. I mean, think about these options. You got the Timberwolves are the number one defense in the NBA, and you can get them at
Mm-hmm.
plus 850 to win the West. They're the number one defense in the NBA.
Right.
The Thunder are young, fresh, hungry. They want to prove themselves. They got a ton of scorers, and they just traded for Gordon Hayward. So maybe they get a little vet because they're all kids. So maybe they get a little vet in
Yeah.
there to help them a little
Yeah.
bit.
I mean,
They're
they
plus
remind
nine
me of.
fifty.
Yeah. I mean, they remind me of like damn, I'm old as hell. I was
Like
gonna
what?
say like a first year baby Bulls, like when the Bulls were like nasty in the
Ah, okay.
East, and they all had the like a really
Yeah,
young team, and then they started adding some vets and try to push for the championship. They never
yeah,
got over the hump. I just don't think
yeah. But have you? But
Shy could be a bona fide superstar MVP,
bro, he's really good.
carry you to the promised land type of guy, but you really
He's
he
great.
needs to have like a second, like he had his coming out party, like he's killing it right now,
Yeah, he's killing
but
it. Yeah,
like is he going to have his second coming out party where he does that against the best of the best
yeah.
in the
It's a good
West
point.
in the playoffs? Like that's the second degree of like,
Yeah,
oh, he is not just an amazing player. He can now carry a team, because when you're in the
yeah.
playoffs, you need somebody who can carry a team for stretches at a time, you
Yes,
know?
totally
And
true. And he's done that in the season. But you're right. Playoffs are a completely different animal. And
yeah,
and they have all these kids that have never been in the playoffs. Like for me, the natural second guy would be Chet Holmgren, but I haven't. I don't. We don't really know what to expect. But just from the perspective of like, they're excellent at home. They're 21-6 at home this season. They have also a top 10 defense, and they're one of the few teams that are top 10 offense and defense. And there's something I always like about like that hungry team that wants to that just might want it more than you do if you face up with them. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that's the vibe I get with
So
them. I think at plus
that
nine
works in the
fifty.
first and second. That works in the first and second.
Oh yeah,
I
for
don't.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
But at plus nine
Chet's.
fifty, I think they're a better. I'd rather bet on them than the Clippers.
I agree.
Than
I agree.
plus 950, and then think
You can't. You can't. The wheels are gonna come off.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
I was stunned when I dug in. I was like, yeah, how are they favored? Like I feel like it's such bad value, and I think that once they go on a little bit of a losing streak, I think that number's gonna just crater. Like it's gonna like it's not just gonna dip like a little bit. It's gonna crater because I think the books are gonna know. The books are always a step ahead. I think they're
I
going to
agree,
know,
man.
and that 250 is not going to be there for long. So if you want to bet them, I would just wait. I think I would just wait and just try to get the best number you can.
Yeah.
Another team, real quick before we move on to the East, that I would look at just on principle is Dallas. I would look at Dallas at plus 1400 to win the West. If you don't like the Nuggets, as Nuggets to me are the best team. But if you're like you're not feeling like the Nuggets are not going to repeat, it's too hard to repeat. Okay, fair. The Thunder are too young. Okay, fair. I don't trust the two bigs of Minnesota. Maybe you say, right? Like you can't win with two big guys clogging up, two 7-footers clogging up the paint. All right, fair. Take a look at the Mavericks. The Mavericks got two guys on any night that can give you 40, 50 points. That's
Right.
rare. If you really think about it, what's the other team that has that? To me, just the Suns with Booker and KD.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just the
that's
Suns.
really it. Like you don't really. I mean, maybe you want to say the Bucks, but Lillard has not looked like himself this year. The Celtics, Jaylen Brown is good, but he's not as good as Tatum. Like to me, the Mavericks have such a strong 1-2, and we have literally seen two guys win an NBA Finals alone, and one of them was Kyrie Irving. So we've seen this happen before. So so to me, they're kind of like a little bit of a sleeper in the West at plus 1400. I would look at them. And again, only because like I don't love their defense, but Rick Carlisle's a really good coach. But it's only because they have two guys that can have the ball in their hand and win you a game. That's unique. They have something unique there, even if they don't have the best supporting cast. So I'll take a look at Dallas too.
Yeah.
Plus 1400, I think, is worth a sprinkle.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I still like the Nuggets. If I was like the
yeah,
Thunder, I can't get down with Chet's facial hair. I can't do it. I can't bet on a team
I
like
feel
that
you.
to
I feel
to,
you.
to get out of the West.
He's a young
He
man.
looks like he has a .8 KD in Call of Duty. He looks like he says some reckless shit in the
You same
lobby.
thing in
Like
the
that's
group chat.
that's the one where you're like, what did he just say? Do I have to report this guy? Like that's the vibe that
And then
Chet
you go
gives
like
me.
check his profile photo, and it's like him, like like he has that face. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get it. I totally get where you're going with
I
it.
can't bet on that coming out of the West. I can't do it.
Oh man. But
Clip this
yeah,
if they make it. But
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
not gonna be where I'm
I
putting my
mean,
money.
Phoenix is another option. I don't love their number. I think they're 600 plus 600. They're another
Still,
option, but
yeah.
to me, like I don't like these teams that just outscore you. That's what I feel like the Suns do. Their defensive metrics are not great. That's why like Denver does have good defensive metrics going back to last season. They have essentially the same team that won last year, pretty much,
Right.
except they lost. Who is it that they lost? Bruce. What was his name? Bruce Brown.
Me.
So
Me.
yeah. So but other than that, they have mostly the same core. And then, but I like these defensive teams like the Timberwolves, the Thunder. I think those teams are better value than jumping on like a team like the Clippers or the Suns. So that's over in the West. I mean, to me, I'm kind of I'm fading the Clippers heavily, and I'm eyeing Minnesota, OKC, Dallas as kind of like because if one of plus 850, 950, 1400, if one of those hits, you're good, and you can bet three. You have three chances to hit. So
That's true.
that's kind of how I'm looking at the futures market over there, and then over in the East, um, I'm selling the Bucks at this price of plus 300 to win the East.
You hear
Uh,
Giannis the other
I
day?
what's that?
Did you hear Giannis the other day when he was like, "This is Dame's team.
Did he
I'm
really?
just
I know I
following
didn't see
him."
that. No,
Yeah, he said, "This
this is
Dame's
Dame's
team. I'm
team.
just following him." I was
You're the
like,
one that has a
"Yo,
championship.
well, that's what I would say if I was at work and I was like, yo, this project,
Is gonna
that
fucking
dude,
yeah
this
yeah
project's gonna suck. That dude is running it. I'm just support. I'm just
yeah.
running support. He's the guy. He's the guy with the ball. I'm just here. I'm here
It's true.
supporting. So like,
That is a good point.
that's what
Yeah
that sounds
yeah
like to me.
yeah. I don't
Sounds like that group project's gonna get a C.
yeah. I mean, I think when the trade first happened, I think I was like just like everyone else. I was like, oh my god, powerhouse. And then after watching several of them, I've watched a bunch of their games this year. It just doesn't work. Something about it is off with him on that team, and I don't know. I don't know if it's that they lost that perimeter defense with Holiday, but something is off about that team. Like maybe it's just that he needs the ball. The Dame has the ball in his hands too much. But something about the rhythm went all like it was much smoother when it was Holiday, Middleton, Giannis versus
Mm-hmm.
Lillard, Middleton, Giannis, and I can't really put my finger on why, but it's just not. It doesn't feel like now. With that being said, they were great for most of the year until they switched coaches, and now they're suddenly struggling. But to me, long term, I'm selling on them. I also don't love. I mean, this is widely known, but I don't love Doc Rivers' history in the playoffs. So I'm not
Right.
looking to, and that's not like I hate like the meme. I don't want to be like the meme, like oh he always chokes, he always chokes. It's not that he always chokes. Is that he's just not great at making adjustments in the middle of a series. There are some coaches that do that well, and some coaches that don't. And then when like a coach like Doc who keeps blowing a series, and then it's like, why does he keep choking? It's not choking. He doesn't make the proper adjustments. And that always comes back. If the coach on the other side is doing it and you're not, you're gonna lose. So
Right.
that's really his weakness. And I don't know. To me, there's just too much going on there right now with that team. Like too much drama, too much finger pointing. So I'm selling on the Bucks. The Cavaliers are interesting because they're one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now. They're on an insane run from before the All-Star break. Going into they were like, I mean, what did they win? Like 20 out of 20 something games. It was nuts. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. And
Yeah, they're 9-1 out of their last 10 as
nine were
well.
yeah, there you go. And they're just demolishing teams. They play the Magic tonight. We'll see how that goes. But But plus 900 looks appealing. But to me, here's the thing. I watched that series last year with the Cavaliers and the Knicks. If you match up with the Cavaliers in the first round, all you got to do is pull that tape. The Knicks completely shut them down in that series, and
Yeah.
there's no real changes on that team. Well, who they had? Max Strus. Like, there's nothing really different, right? Like,
I don't know why you
no
said that so
disrespect to Max
disrespectfully.
Strus,
No,
but you
I
know,
mean that's what I felt.
no
I felt
offense,
like I
but
had to go text him. I felt like I just had to text him, like,
did
"Yo,
you hear what he just said about you?
yeah." I was like, are you and Jeff arguing or something?"
I would just say, like, he's not, he's a good
Just
player, but
who'd you get, Max Struess?
the core of the Cavs is still Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and the bigs down low, right? So, like, to me, the Knicks gave you the recipe. They showed you exactly how to play Donovan Mitchell on defense, beat them in 5 games. It was mostly a blowout. It was no problem. Anybody who matches up with the Cavs is going to go back to last year and watch that film. So for me, even though they're like super hot right now, they're probably a popular bet at plus 900. I'm going to fade them. I think you do have value on the Knicks because I'm going to look at teams right now. This is not a homer pick. It's not a homer pick. I'm going to look
No,
at team.
we're getting content. We're going to the Knicks game.
We'll definitely be at a Knicks playoff game, and
I'm
we'll have
gonna
stuff for
say
you guys.
I'm gonna say Bing Bong maybe once or twice.
Yeah, we'll definitely have some good stuff for you guys in terms of content because we're planning to go. So, but I want to look at teams that are injured, right, Bruce? Like injury riddled right now, like the Knicks are,
Like
and
the
that are
Knicks, yeah.
that are kind of staying afloat, right? They're going to be in it, and then they trend upwards in health as the playoffs start. I think that's what you have with the Knicks. I mean, how much does it say about their situation that they have worse odds than the Cavaliers? The Cavaliers are 9-1 in the last 10. The Knicks are decimated. The Knicks are plus 700, and the Cavs are plus 900. So the books know what I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here. The books
Yep.
kind of get what I'm trying to say here. So I think there's value on the Knicks. And then I got to throw Miami in there because every goddamn year they pull some shit off. The Heat think about how bad the Heat looked last year in the regular season. And then they went to the finals as the 8th seed. So I know people are going to be like, the scary Terry trade didn't work. The Rozier trade didn't work. Don't even judge it yet. That team is
Right.
not trying until the playoff starts. Like
Yeah.
Eric Spoelstra is like all cards close to his vest. Like nothing's happening with that team until the playoffs begin. And then you'll see the real Miami Heat. Whether it's good or bad, you'll see like their full effort. It's not, you're not seeing that team 100% right now. So, and they're plus 1,300 for a team that just went there last year. They know how to beat the Celtics. The Celtics are the best team in the East. They know how to beat them. They did it. So
Right.
I think you got a little bit of betting value on Miami.
I think it's always good to take a flyer. If you're gonna pick multiple, hitting Miami during
Exactly.
this current core, Spoelstra is one of the best coaches
So good.
in the NBA. And you weren't betting on him last year either to make the finals.
Exactly.
If we were having this podcast last year,
Yeah.
and we said who you got, I sure as hell wouldn't pick the Miami Heat in this
Yeah.
conversation. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even pick them going into the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought the Knicks
Totally.
were gonna take care of business,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
it's heartbroken.
The final thing I'll say about futures is, in terms of like, if you want to take, I usually like to look at conference futures, or you could even find some value on the divisions right now, like some favorites that are like minus 180, minus 210. But you look at the division, like there's no way they're going to lose it. So you can find some value there. But like, if you want to bet an actual champion right now, a couple of tips would be: don't bet the Celtics to win the East or the like a Nugget. The Nuggets is a good example. The Nuggets to win the West is plus 260, but they're plus 500 to win the whole thing. Just if you think they're going to win the West, just bet the whole thing.
Yep.
Because to be honest, they're very likely much better than anybody that comes out of the East. If it's they took care of Miami in 5 games. If it's Boston, I think Denver wins again. If it's Boston, I think the matchup is just too good.
If it's the Knicks,
If it's unfortunately, if it's the Knicks, I think the Nuggets win. Yeah, so like plus 5. The Nuggets are like, I feel like people get caught up in like the argument of like who's better, superstars this, and they just forget that the best player on earth right now is sitting in Denver, just quiet. He's just quiet, but he's
doesn't even want to be there.
He doesn't want to be it, but he is the best right now. He's the best player. So they have that. That's like a big perk. When shit hits the fan, we got the best guy. So so I would look at the Nuggets, maybe plus 500 to win it all. And if you're going to bet the Celtics, they have like no value to win the East. So take them to win the whole thing. If you're going to, I think they're plus 270 to win the chip if you think they're going to get out of the East. So That's my NBA futures talk uh, for this week, and I'll probably have for our subs probably at some point early next week. I'll send out a card that has all of our sprinkles for the futures, because some of these are going to start moving quickly, and we might either lose value on some of these or we might gain some more. So we'll see what happens. I usually do one like quickly after the All Star break, and then one more when the playoffs start. And then when you combine both cards, maybe you got like 3-4 units at risk because these are all going to be like half unit, quarter unit.
Right.
So so take a look at those teams if you're looking at NBA futures. And that is all that I have for this week, man. In terms of basketball, basketball is I can't lie, it's tough to find shit to come on here with for basketball. But I know you got I know you got some UFC stuff that you wanted to get
but
to.
we're always bringing the quality stuff.
True. I dug up. The Clippers. I basically performed a hit piece on the Clippers in this.
Yeah, I was like,
I spent like an hour research. I'm like, man, this team is garbage.
yeah.
They're
Look at all these old farts. Yeah.
Yeah. So all that research just to tell you that I hate the Clippers.
Yep. Cool. Because I'm going to come on here and tell you that I hate Brian Ortega. So
yeah, let's get to the UFC spots. Hit me with it.
All right. We have two spots that I want to talk about. One of them, completely new angle.
Okay.
And then one of them is an angle that we just beat like a dead horse, and it's been working for us. So we're going to keep the train rolling. And when we fade it, we lose. So I'm just like, we're going to get really tight on this one. 2-1 last week. Lost a heartbreaker.
Bulk.
Although I think I did hit the exact behavior. Remember, I literally went through what was going to happen in the fight last week with Fluffy Hernandez.
Pretty close.
Still didn't clip it.
We
need to do a montage. We need to do a montage.
No, I clipped you in the last one. I clipped it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And the 2 pods ago, I clipped you doing the motion. And then last week we clipped in the dunk bet. So this week we'll clip this in.
Okay. But now I'm scared. I don't have anything for this one. So the first one, Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. Yair minus 155, Brian Ortega plus 125 right now. Believe this is a co-main event. This angle is brand new, and it's called Elevation.
Oh yeah, because this is in Mexico City, right?
This is in Mexico City, and I don't know if you've ever been in Mexico City, or if you've ever been in Denver, Colorado, or if you've ever just been somewhere that's really high up in the sky. It is hard walking around. I don't know if you know this. Try to walk up a set of stairs in Colorado. Me and Jeff would be very tired after walking up a set of stairs.
Tired of walking up my stairs in New York. So
you were tired dunking on me last week. All right, now try to fight a dude.
Yeah,
in that elevation, it requires training. It requires preparation to do heavy cardio and anaerobic exercise at elevation like that. So in this, I got 2 angles for you. I got Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. This fight's already happened. Yair won. He was winning the entire fight. Brian Ortega pops his shoulder out. They had to stop that fight. We were on Brian Ortega in that fight. Was not a good run. And during that, we saw Yair, much better striker, was also working the ground game. It was pretty favorable for him in that spot too, where we think that Brian Ortega was going to excel. So he looked great in that fight. He was a dog. And then if you look at the system here, over a 70% win rate for the underdog who won the last fight and is now going to the rematch, whether they're a dog or a favorite. It's about a little bit over 70%. So that system is smacking. We talk about elevation. Yair Rodriguez has been training in Mexico. Brian Ortega got there like less than 5 days ago. So you usually need about 10 days to acclimate to this if you're doing like athletic stuff.
Yeah.
He did not do that. So either he has a secret hyperbaric time chamber that he's been training in before this, or he may feel the effects of the elevation during the fight. And both fighters fight at an extremely high pace.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at the angle, when you look at the elevation, when you look at Yair Rodriguez and his past performances, We're going to go with Yair on this one. Minus
I like it.
155 money line. I think that's a good line. I don't think you have to do any of the props. If we were going to do a prop, I'd probably do by decision on this one.
Yeah,
So,
Yair by decision.
yeah.
So Yair
But
was the dog in the first fight. Is that's what you said,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, he's
Okay,
about
so he
plus
won, and now it's
140.
the rematch. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I wonder if like so yeah, Ortega showing up just like on short notice into Mexico City. I'm sure they've got like some kind of training that mimics the elevation, but I wonder if it's like it's one of those it's probably one of those things where like it's not the same. Like yeah, you could try
right.
your hardest to mimic it, but once it actually hits, you're like, "Oh shit." You
Oh,
know?
this sucks.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, I'm sure he's a professional fighter. He's dedicated to his craft. So I'm sure he's doing things to get there.
Yeah.
But if you don't like that angle, you just lean on the rematch one, and the rematch one is still
Yeah.
pointing to Yair in
True.
this one. So I think it's a pretty clean line for us, given that
Yeah.
he won the last fight, given that he's looked good in his past fights outside of the Volk one.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go with Yair on this one.
I like it. Yair minus 155 over Brian Ortega. Yeah, I mean the elevation thing I would probably think is going to affect a bunch of fights. This feels like like one of those weekends where maybe you get some like wild like fluky results maybe, or you maybe
Yeah.
like some high variance. You might have to be careful because you don't know how guys are going to react to that
There's two
elevation.
things. When you go international, the judges get
True.
weird.
There
You
you go.
start seeing some weird stuff on the cards. And then the elevation is pretty new. I mean, there's been other cards at elevation, so it's not going to be the first one. But what you realize is not all of these fighters have the resources to either go to Mexico early and train for multiple weeks or
Yeah.
be in some high elevation chamber
Right.
somewhere. Like a lot of these folks are like, great, I got the bonus. I could leave my job at the factory now. Like these guys aren't, some of
Yeah.
them aren't even full-time fighters that hit the UFC. So
Yeah.
it's like we also can't lean on
It's
like
crazy.
that all of these undercard prelim folks are just like getting the right resources to train at elevation. Some of them literally can't. Some of them still drive 3 hours to their gym across state lines.
Crazy.
So when you're looking at this, look in those prelim fights. Look to see like who landed with ample time to acclimate and who didn't, because you may be able to find some value there, and we're likely going to put a couple of those on the card. I've been
Nice.
I've been scoping, and I've been finding, and I've been looking. I'm on flight logs. I'm on Instagram. I know when you got there, baby, and and I'm using it. I'm using it.
Oh man,
So
that's
yeah,
funny.
overall
Cool.
tip to everybody. Like that's an angle this week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man, it makes total sense. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, Rodriguez over Brian Ortega for the second time. All right, cool. You got anything else? You got another one, right?
I got one more, and I don't know. Can I read my show note, or should I
Why
just
not?
do you want to read my show note
Just
for
just go ahead. Go ahead.
Ricky Ricky Tertios and Raul Rosas Jr. Uh, you should read it.
No,
Just read
no,
it.
go ahead. No. You wrote it. Come on.
Okay. I wrote two crackheads that won't die.
There you go. Beautiful. I like it.
These guys are put on an insane pace.
Yeah.
Raul Rosas is 19-year-old phenom, extremely good grappler. Ricky Tercios probably needs to be checked for recreational drugs like before and after this fight. My man is bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like he always ends up on the bottom, but as a grappler, he's doing Imanari rolls. He's like doing flying Taekwondo kicks. Like this guy is a ball of energy, and he's durable.
Yeah.
And he doesn't die. Like you can't kill Ricky Tercios. He may not win, and he's had a multiple split decisions, but this guy's not going to go down, and he's not just going to lay on his back and do nothing while Raul Rosas gets him in a submission. Like this is going to be scrambly. This is going to be ugly. This is going to be like, what the hell is going on in this fight? Is probably like I can't even show you what I think is going to happen because I think it's just going to be chaos.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think it's going outside the distance.
Yeah.
I don't think that these guys are going to take each other out. I think this is one that you really need to hold on to your seat and be like, why did Bruce say outside the distance? These guys are going at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think ultimately it gets to the cards.
Gotcha.
Who I think wins when it gets to the cards? Probably Raul Rosas Jr. Like
Well,
he's probably going to
Rosas
control it.
is probably the favorite. Is he favorite? He's the favorite, right?
He's a big favorite.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's a big favorite. But I think ultimately, if you bet outside the distance here, you watch a crazy fight and it's going to go to the cards.
Nice.
Let me pull up what the line is there before.
What? Yeah. So yeah, see what the line is, and then the one. I guess the one thing I would ask about this is like how do you kind of determine when you're going to take outside the distance versus just looking at the total. Like what's the total? Probably 2.5 in this fight, and then
Yeah,
like versus taking the over. I know it's probably juiced more, but is that kind of a thing that you also might look at versus going outside the distance?
When it's a 2.5, I basically it's a similar line of thinking when you're saying like just like actually it's the opposite. You take the points in basketball because you're like,
Yeah.
what does it matter?
Right.
I seen 1 point games. You very often you don't see finishes in like the last
Late.
2.5 minutes of a
Yeah,
fight.
makes sense. Yeah.
You know, if it got there, it's probably getting to the end, right?
Yeah.
So I always just I pick up a couple extra points on the line when you see a 2.5, a 1.5, totally different. That's when you're looking at the line. A 3.5 and a 5-round fight, different.
Yeah.
When you're looking at a 3-round fight and the line is set at 2.5, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like
Guys gas out at the end. They don't go for the fit, right? They start looking at the clock. Like, oh,
yeah. So usually something, it's either in hand or if it's a close fight, they're going at it, but they don't have a lot of gas left in the tank, and they're just
cool.
they're not going to finish each other. So I always just pick up the extra points.
Now, is this juiced to go to the cards, or is like
It's about even depending on what book you get.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
DraftKings has it plus 100. Actually, that's the best value that I see right now on the board.
Cool. Awesome.
And if you're looking at FanDuel plus 102, and then if you're doing some weird stuff and you're like on Bet Rivers or Caesars, it's like minus 120. So
okay. Gotcha.
If you're on the popular, mobile phone sports books, you're going to get a deal on this, I think.
Nice.
So yeah, we're gonna hit the goes the distance there, and
cool.
Yeah, sorry in advance because
first just have to sweat this out.
it's gonna be scary. But we're confident that that's gonna hit the over.
All right, awesome. So Turkios and Rosas to go to distance, and Yair at minus 155. I like them. And then you got my Wake Forest pick. That sounds to me like a 3-0 weekend for you guys if you're watching this podcast. That's what that sounds like to me. 3-0. And you get to watch some hoops, watch some fights, switch it up.
Yeah.
That's like by the one saving grace about Saturdays this time of year is like because it's basketball all damn day, and then it's like I like the end of the night. It's just like I'll switch it up with some fights because who wants to watch I love basketball, but man, after you watch one teenager miss free throws, you watched all of them. So after a while, I can't do it anymore.
You can watch teenagers beat each other up. Oh, exactly. 19.
Exactly. So, all right, cool. So that's it. In terms of housekeeping, weekend passes up for those interested. Annual pass is now live. You can get that. The March Madness pass. A lot of you jumped on that. So thank you to everybody who signed up for that. That's the best value right now because it costs less than a monthly pass and you get more than a month's time. So you get all the way to the end of the tournament, which I think is April 8th this year is when the national championship will be on. So you'll get a good chunk of time getting the Madness pass, which is available now too. So if you don't have anything else, Bruce, I'm good, man.
I'm good. I'm ready for tomorrow.
Thank you guys for watching.
Have a good weekend, y'all.
See you guys next week. Peace out.